Viewers keep asking how 5 divers entered a cave and never came back out. But the most terrifying answer may be this. They may have believed they were swimming toward the exit. They may have followed the wrong tunnel, and by the time they realized it, the cave had already taken away their options. In May 2026, 5 Italian scuba divers died inside a deep cave system in the Maldives. A Maldivian rescue diver also lost his life during the response. At first, the story sounded impossible. Experienced divers, tropical water, a popular dive destination, a live-aboard vessel, a planned excursion, and then suddenly, 5 people were gone. For days, the world asked the same questions. How did this happen? Why were they so deep? Why did they enter the cave? Why did they not turn around? Why did they not find the way out? And most of all, was this a tragic accident, or was it a preventable disaster? As more details emerged, the case became even darker. Because this was not just a story about divers going too deep. It was a story about a chain of failures, a vessel under investigation, a dive beyond the recreational depth limit, standard compressed air at extreme depth, a deep overhead environment, no simple direct descent, a dark chamber filled with fine silt, and possibly the most haunting detail of all, a false exit, a tunnel that may have looked like the way home, but was not. This is the illusion at 60 meters, and it may explain why 5 divers never left the Maldives cave. The first failure may have happened before anyone entered the water. The divers were operating from the MV Duke of York, a live-aboard vessel that became central to the investigation. After the tragedy, Maldivian authorities suspended the vessel's operating license pending the outcome of the investigation. Italian prosecutors also opened a parallel inquiry. That matters because fatal diving accidents are rarely caused by one final mistake. They usually begin earlier, with paperwork, with permissions, with supervision, with risk assessment, with whether the dive should have happened at all. In the Maldives, recreational diving is limited to around 30 meters. This dive went far deeper. Reports placed the cave entrance and recovery area around 50 to 60 meters. That is not a small difference. That is not a minor violation. That is a completely different diving environment. At 30 meters, a recreational dive is already serious. At 60 meters, the rules change. Gas disappears faster. Narcosis becomes a major concern. Decompression obligations become serious. Emergency options shrink. And if there is a cave overhead, the risk multiplies. Because in open water, a diver may still have a path upward. That does not make it safe, but at least the surface has a direction. Inside a cave, the surface is no longer directly available. You cannot simply go up. You have to go back. You have to find the route. You have to control your breathing. You have to manage the group. You have to avoid stirring silt. You have to have enough gas to exit. And if anything goes wrong, the cave does not give you extra time. It takes time away. That is why this dive should never be described as just a deep recreational excursion. A deep cave is not recreational. It is technical. It requires technical planning, technical gas, technical training, technical equipment, and technical discipline. Without those things, the dive becomes a gamble, and underwater, gambling with gas is fatal. At roughly 60 meters, standard compressed air creates serious problems. The first problem is gas consumption. The deeper you go, the faster you use the gas in your tank. A breath at depth uses far more gas from the tank than that same breath near the surface. So a tank that might last a long time in shallow water can disappear shockingly fast at 60 meters. That alone changes the survival math. But gas volume is only one problem. The second problem is nitrogen narcosis. At deep depths, nitrogen can affect the brain. Divers describe it as feeling drunk, confused, slowed down, or strangely calm when they should be alarmed. That is dangerous in open water. Inside a cave, it can be catastrophic, because cave survival depends on calm thinking. You need to remember the route. You need to read your instruments. You need to communicate clearly. You need to track gas. You need to make fast but disciplined decisions. Narcosis attacks all of that. It can make a dangerous decision feel reasonable. It can make confusion feel manageable. It can make a diver continue when they should turn back. It can make a false exit look convincing. And that may be exactly what made this cave so deadly. The divers were not just deep, they were deep inside an overhead environment. They were in darkness. They were under pressure. They were using gas quickly. And if they were breathing standard air, their thinking may have been impaired at the exact moment they needed perfect judgment. Now add the cave itself. According to reconstruction details reported after the recovery, the cave system was not a simple open cavern. It had stages. The first stage was the entrance area. Chamber 1. This was a deep cavern zone, around 55 to 58 meters below sea level. It was still dangerous because of the depth. But it had one psychological advantage: light. Natural light can make a cavern feel safer than it really is. Light gives the diver orientation. Light gives the brain confidence. Light makes the outside world feel close. In Chamber 1, the divers may still have felt connected to open water. They may have believed the dive was under control. They may have believed they could still turn around easily. But caves are dangerous because they change slowly at first, then suddenly all at once. The next stage was the connecting tunnel, a narrow bottleneck leading from the illuminated cavern into the darker interior. This tunnel mattered because it cut off natural sunlight. Once the divers passed through it, they were no longer in a bright entrance zone. They were in a true overhead cave environment. That is the moment the dive changed. Not emotionally, maybe. Not in the minds of divers who still felt confident. But physically, the dive changed. The exit was no longer visually obvious. The surface was no longer available, and the cave now required proper cave diving discipline. That means a guideline. That means gas rules. That means controlled movement. That means a team size and plan that fit the environment. That means knowing exactly when to turn around. Without those things, the cave begins to take control. After the connecting tunnel came Chamber 2, the main dark room. This chamber was larger, sprawling, pitch black, and its floor was reportedly covered in incredibly fine, loose silt and sand. That detail may be one of the most important facts in the entire case. Fine silt is deadly in a cave. It does not take much to disturb it. A normal recreational fin kick can lift it from the floor. Multiple divers kicking through the room can make it worse. If the group is stressed, low, vertical, overweighted, or moving quickly, the silt can rise into the water column almost instantly. And once that happens, visibility can drop to zero. Not low visibility. Zero visibility. The room disappears. The exit disappears. The other divers disappear. Your light becomes useless because it only illuminates the cloud in front of you. That is the silt-out trap. And it is one of the reasons cave divers train differently from recreational divers. Cave divers use special propulsion techniques, modified frog kicks, careful trim, slow movement, no careless finning. They protect the floor because the floor can blind them. But if a group without the right cave discipline enters a chamber like that, the cave can turn against them within seconds. Now imagine that happening at 60 meters. You are deep. You are breathing hard. Your gas is dropping fast. Your thinking may be affected by narcosis. You know there is no direct ascent. You know you have to find the route back. Then the room fills with silt. The light disappears. The tunnel disappears. The cave becomes a cloud. That is when panic begins. And panic burns gas. A calm diver breathes one way. A frightened diver breathes another way. A panicked diver can destroy their remaining gas supply fast. This is why the idea of just turning around is too simple. Turning around only works if you know where out is. Turning around only works if the exit is visible. Turning around only works if the team is calm. Turning around only works if the route is marked. Turning around only works if there is enough gas left. But if Chamber 2 silted out, and if the divers were disoriented by depth and darkness, Turning around may not have solved anything. It may have created the next mistake. Because this cave had another danger: the false exit. After the recovery, reporting described a possible hidden geographical trap inside the cave: an unmapped side corridor, an S-shaped bend, a natural sandbank, and a dead end. This is the part of the case that changes everything. The Finnish technical recovery team reportedly found 4 of the Italian divers in a blind dead-end area deeper inside the cave system. That means they were not simply floating randomly in the main chamber. They had moved into a place that did not lead out, a place with no escape forward. The question is why? Why would multiple divers enter a dead-end corridor when they needed to exit? One possible answer is panic. Another is zero visibility. Another is narcosis. But the most chilling possibility is that the dead-end corridor may have looked like the way out. According to reconstruction details, a large sandbank may have obscured the true exit route. To a calm, trained recovery diver with the right equipment, the cave layout might eventually make sense. But to a group of stressed divers at depth, possibly in a silt-out, the geometry could become a trap. The real exit may have been hidden. The wrong tunnel may have appeared open. The dead end may have looked like hope. That is the optical illusion. And it is terrifying because it means the divers may not have thought they were going deeper into danger. They may have believed they were escaping. That is one of the cruelest possibilities in this tragedy. They may have followed what looked like the path home, but it was a lie written in rock, sand, darkness, and panic. This is why the sandbank matters. A sandbank does not sound dramatic from the surface. It sounds like a small detail. But underwater, in darkness, at depth, in a cave, a sandbank can change what the diver sees. It can block one opening. It can emphasize another. It can distort the shape of the room. It can hide the true return tunnel. It can make the wrong passage seem like the correct path. And if the diver is already disoriented, that may be enough. Enough to make one wrong turn. Enough to lead the group into the blind corridor. Enough to spend the gas they needed to survive. Enough to turn a recoverable emergency into a fatal one. This is what makes the Maldives cave tragedy so haunting. The divers may have been close enough to the exit for the tragedy to feel almost impossible. But in a cave, closeness does not matter if the route is lost. The exit can be meters away and still unreachable. Because caves are not solved by distance alone. They are solved by orientation. And orientation disappears when light, visibility, training, and calm thinking disappear together. The 5th Italian diver, an instructor, was reportedly found closer to the entrance area. That detail raises painful questions. Did the group separate? Did one diver attempt a breakout? Did he realize the others had gone the wrong way? Did he nearly find the path out? Did he run out of gas before reaching open water? We do not know every final movement, and we should be careful about pretending we do. But the locations of the bodies suggest a terrifying possibility. The group may not have died all at once in one place. The emergency may have fragmented. Some divers may have gone into the dead-end pocket. One may have moved back toward Chamber 1. The team may have separated in darkness and silt. And once separation happens in a cave, the emergency becomes even harder to solve. Because now, there is not one rescue problem. There are several. Who has gas? Who has the exit? Who has the light? Who knows the route? Who is calm? Who is panicking? Who is already lost? This is why a guideline is so important. A guideline is not decoration. It is the cave diver's road home. In zero visibility, a line can be the difference between confusion and exit. Without a guideline, the diver is relying on memory, visibility, orientation, and luck. At 60 meters in a silted cave, luck is not a safety plan. If there was no properly deployed continuous line to the exit, then the divers were depending on a visual environment that could disappear instantly. And if it did disappear, the cave became a maze. Not because it was enormous, but because the exit was no longer certain. That is an important point. A cave does not need to be miles long to kill. It only needs one wrong turn, one silt out, one missing line, one false exit, one dead-end corridor, one group low on gas, and one moment when everyone realizes too late that the way forward is not the way out. That may be what happened here. The divers entered a deep cave. They moved from light into darkness. They entered a silt-filled chamber. The water may have clouded. They turned to escape. The true exit may have been hidden by the sandbank. The unmapped corridor may have appeared to be the return path. They swam into the dead end, and then the gas ran out. That is not a quick, clean accident. That is a nightmare. Because running out of gas in a cave is not like running out of gas in a car. There is no roadside, no phone call, no walking home. There is only breathing until there is nothing left to breathe. This is why reports that tanks were found empty are so devastating. An empty tank tells a story. It means the diver used everything. It means there was no reserve left. It means the final minutes were not solved by equipment. It means the emergency lasted long enough for the gas supply to vanish. And inside a cave, an empty tank is one of the most final pieces of evidence there is. People sometimes ask whether equipment failure caused the deaths. Maybe something broke, maybe a regulator failed, maybe a tank malfunctioned. But when multiple divers are found with empty tanks, the story often points somewhere else. Not instant failure, not one sudden medical event, but a prolonged emergency, disorientation, delay, wrong route, gas exhaustion. The divers did not need the cave to collapse. They did not need a monster current. They did not need one dramatic explosion of disaster. They only needed to lose the exit long enough for the math to run out. That is the brutal truth of cave diving. The tank is a clock. At depth, that clock runs faster. In panic, it runs faster again. In a group emergency, it runs faster for everyone. And if the route is wrong, every breath is spent moving away from safety. That is why the vessel and operational questions matter so much. Who authorized the dive? Who knew the depth? Who knew the cave? Who knew the group's training? Who checked the gas plan? Who verified the limits? Who decided this dive was acceptable? Who had the authority to say no? Because the safest time to stop this tragedy was not inside Chamber 2. It was before the dive began, before the descent, before the connecting tunnel, before the silt out, before the false exit, before the dead end, before the gas ran out. That is where accountability lives, not only in the final minutes, but in every decision that allowed the final minutes to happen. The Maldives has long been seen as a paradise diving destination. Clear water, beautiful reefs, liveaboards, marine life, adventure. But paradise does not cancel physics. Warm water does not make 60 meters safe. Clear water outside the cave does not make darkness inside the cave safe. Experience does not make nitrogen narcosis disappear. Confidence does not replace a guideline. A spare tank does not fix a broken gas plan. And a popular dive site does not become safe just because people have visited it before. Rules exist because the ocean is indifferent. Depth limits exist because the human body has limits. Training requirements exist because certain environments punish amateurs and experts alike. Cave protocols exist because darkness, silt, and overhead rock do not forgive confusion. The Dakunu Kondu tragedy is a reminder that the deadliest moment in diving is not always the moment something looks dangerous. Sometimes the deadliest moment is when danger still looks manageable. Chamber 1 may have looked manageable. The connecting tunnel may have looked passable. Chamber 2 may have looked explorable. The sandbank may have looked like part of the floor. The wrong tunnel may have looked like the exit. And that is how the trap works. It does not announce itself as a trap. It becomes one step by step. Light becomes darkness. Cavern becomes cave. Clear water becomes silt. Confidence becomes confusion. The route becomes uncertain. The false exit becomes hope. The dead end becomes the final room. And the tank becomes empty. That is why this story matters beyond one dive. It is not just about the Maldives. It is about every high-risk environment where people normalize danger. Every time a rule is bent and nothing bad happens, the next violation feels easier. Every time a deep dive works without the right plan, the next deep dive feels acceptable. Every time someone says, "We have done this before," the warning signs become quieter. Until one day, the environment stops forgiving. That day, the rule that seemed optional becomes the rule that could have saved lives. A guideline, a depth limit, a gas reserve, a proper permit, a technical dive plan, a smaller team, a decision to turn around, a decision not to enter, a decision to say no. One person reportedly did not join the fatal dive. That decision may be the most important survival lesson in the whole tragedy, because saying no before a dive is easy compared to trying to escape a cave after the exit disappears. Saying no may feel embarrassing. It may feel awkward. It may disappoint the group. It may make someone look inexperienced. But saying no keeps the surface available. Once you are at 60 meters inside a silted cave, the word no has far less power. The cave has already taken the easy options. That is the lesson for divers. The time to survive is before the trap closes, before the descent, before the tunnel, before the dark room, before the false exit, before the last third of gas is gone. Because once the cave has you disoriented, low on gas, and pointed toward the wrong tunnel, survival is no longer about bravery. It is about whether the plan left you enough margin to recover. In this case, the margin appears to have vanished. 5 Italian divers died. A Maldivian rescuer died. Families were destroyed. Investigators were left to reconstruct the chain. Recovery divers had to enter the same dangerous system to bring the victims home. And the rest of the diving world was left with the same brutal reminder: rules are written in blood. The illusion at 60 meters was not just visual, it was operational. The illusion that the dive was acceptable, the illusion that standard air was enough, the illusion that experience was enough, the illusion that a cave without a clear route home could still be managed, the illusion that the wrong tunnel was the way out, and the illusion that rescue would arrive before the gas ran out. But rescue is never guaranteed, not at sea, not underwater, not inside a cave. The only guaranteed rescue is the decision that prevents the emergency from happening in the first place. So when people ask why 5 divers never left the Maldives cave, the answer may be because the real exit disappeared, because the wrong tunnel looked right, because the gas math collapsed, because the dive should have been stopped before anyone entered, and because at 60 meters inside a cave, one illusion can be fatal. This tragedy should be remembered with respect. Respect for the victims, respect for the recovery teams, respect for the families, and respect for the rules that exist to keep divers alive. Because the ocean does not forgive confidence, the cave does not forgive confusion, and at 60 meters the truth arrives fast. If you want to understand why one extra tank could not fix this situation, watch this video next. The 1-3 rule, why the Maldives divers had no way out. The false exit that trapped them. The Maldives divers may not have ignored the exit, they may have followed the wrong one. According to reconstruction reports, the cave had a dark silt-filled chamber and an unmapped dead-end corridor. A natural sandbank may have hidden the true return tunnel. So when the divers turned to escape, the wrong passage may have looked like the way home. But it was not. It led deeper into a dead end. At 60 meters, in darkness, with gas disappearing and visibility collapsing, that mistake can become fatal. The full breakdown is on the channel now. The Maldives divers may not have ignored the exit. They may have followed the wrong one. According to reconstruction reports, the cave had a dark silt-filled chamber and an unmapped dead-end corridor. A natural sandbank may have hidden the true return tunnel. So when the divers turned to escape, the wrong passage may have looked like the way home. But it was not. It led deeper into a dead end. At 60 meters, in darkness, with gas disappearing and visibility collapsing, that mistake can become fatal. The full breakdown is on the channel now. Why just turn around does not work in a cave. People keep asking, why didn't the Maldives divers just turn around? Because inside a cave, turning around only works if you still know where out is. At 60 meters in darkness, with fine silt in the water, the exit can disappear. Your light does not fix it. It only lights up the cloud. And if a sandbank hides the real tunnel while a dead-end corridor looks open, the wrong path can look like the way home. That is why cave divers use guidelines, not for convenience, for survival.